Joining us now to sort all this out and now becoming a regular on our show, National Campaign Manager for the Donald J. Trump for President campaign, Corey Lewandowski. Good to have you with us today, Corey.
Good morning.
We're fired up. We understand that you guys will be in Virginia Beach on Friday. Can you share the details?
Sure, exclusive to your show, John, and we are proud that Mr. Trump is going to be in Virginia on Friday. He's going to be at the Wave Convention Center, which is located at 1000 North Great Neck Road in Virginia Beach. You can get tickets free of charge by going to trumpvirginia.eventbrite.com. That's trumpvirginia.eventbrite.com. And the event is going to begin at 7 o'clock. So it's a great venue. I think we can get a couple thousand people in there to spend Friday night with Mr. Trump to hear about his message on how to make America great again. So we're excited to be in the Commonwealth.
Corey Lewandowski, National Campaign Manager, Donald J. Trump for President campaign. Before we get to his big tax plan from yesterday, almost every national public opinion survey that has come out continues to show Trump in the lead. Some of these, his lead is growing. How do you see things playing out between now and Iowa?
Well, you get a long time. There's 133 days from today is the first vote in New Hampshire, where the first delegates are available. So if you subtract a week from that, we're at just over 123 days, 124, 125 days to the Iowa caucus. I think what you find is that as Mr. Trump continues to tour the country and talk about the problems that we face, whether it's terrible trade deals, bad negotiations, 18, almost $19 trillion in deficits now, illegal immigrants coming across the border, the problems that are just persistent with our country, the fact that our country has become the laughingstock, the fact that, we've negotiated a trade deal that says if Israel goes to war with Iran, we have to support Iran. I mean, this is craziness, what is going on. And so I think what you find is, we were in Oklahoma on Friday night. We were in South Carolina for 2 stops on Wednesday of last week. The crowds are big, they're receptive, and they truly want to see our country become great again. And that's why his numbers have continued to grow. That's why he has been the clear and definitive front runner in this race for the last 11 weeks. And that's why we think we'll continue to do well, because the American people are tired of losing, and they want to see a winner take over and make our country great again.
Well, as I predicted back in May, Donald Trump is going to be the nominee of the Republican Party. And I made that prediction. I'm sticking with it as usual. I'm right. Let's go to Donald Trump's tax reform plan, Corey, that he rolled out yesterday, starting with tax relief for the middle class. I mean, the middle class really getting hammered in this economy. Explain how this works.
So it's really a simple plan, because I'm a real simple guy, and I can't put a plan together that's too complex. So it's real simple. Basically, what it says is there are 4 simple elements of the plan. First, tax relief for middle Americans so that they can achieve the dreams that they've wanted to, which means more money in their pockets and increased after-tax wages. That's number 1. Number 2, let's simplify the tax code. It's just too complex. It's headaches for Americans. People stress out about it. As you know, if you've asked for an extension, your extension is due here in the next 2 weeks. And people, we spend hundreds of millions of dollars preparing our tax returns collectively to file with the IRS with the fear of the recourse that they provide against us. Third, the plan is designed to grow the economy, right? Discouraging corporate inversion, adding a huge number of new jobs, and making America globally competitive again. And fourth, the important part here is that this plan does not add to the debt or deficit. It is revenue neutral based on a 3% growth rate. If we do better than 3%, it actually reduces the deficit by bringing, our money back in, because we can't continue to allow $19 trillion to become $20 trillion to become $21 trillion and pass that burden on to our children and grandchildren. So from an economic side, it's real easy. There are 4 basic brackets as opposed to the 8 that we have now. 0, 10, 20, or 25%. That's the maximum you would pay as your income tax rate, depending on how much money you make. It's basically a graduated tax. So if you're a married family filing jointly and you make $50,000 or less, you'll literally pay 0.
Right.
If you make between $50,000 to $100,000 and you're filing jointly, you're going to pay 10%. Real easy. Real easy. It's 10%. If I made $90,000, we're going to pay 10% of that. It's $9,000. It's easy to do. You fill out the form, you send it in, you're done. The other thing that we have done, is really important to do this, is to make sure that we did not eliminate the deductions which we think are most important. That includes the charitable contributions. Those are still deductible on your taxes because charity starts at home, and giving to charity, we believe, is to be an important thing. And the other big deduction which we left in, and to some criticism from those on the conservative right, is the mortgage interest deduction, because we want to encourage home ownership. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that if you have the opportunity to go and buy your own home and make a better life for yourself, that you should have the opportunity, as is currently the law, to write off that mortgage interest on your taxes, to encourage that home ownership, to encourage the building trades to continue to grow our country. So we've left those two very, very important deductions in. But what we will do, particularly for the rich, is close some of those loopholes. This carried interest dividends, carried interest deduction that Wall Street uses to pretend they have a loss when it's really not a loss so they can get taxed at a lower rate to scam the system, that's all going to go away. And the big thing here, John, the big part of this plan is forcing companies that have trillions of dollars overseas to bring that money back into the U.S. and put it to work in the United States. Right now, nobody even knows what the number is. It could be 2.1, it could be $2.5 trillion with a T. Well, nobody knows. So let's bring that money back into the United States. Let's require them to pay a one-time fee of 10%. And put that money back to work in our country as opposed to leaving it overseas, because we need to encourage our companies that are working here in the U.S. to invest their money in the U.S. That's an important factor to keep our country economy growing and moving again.
Now, look, I want to get back to this overseas money, because there's many people that think it's even beyond what you just said, that it's in the tens and tens of trillions of dollars. But I want to get back to deductions. What about children? How's that work?
So we wouldn't change it, right? So if you've their earned income tax credits, child deduction, those all stay in place. That has to be the case, and we're perfectly fine with that. A big part of this plan is understanding if you are a small business, whether you're a mom and pop shop, you're an LLC, you're a PLLC, you're a DBA, or you're a C corporation or an S corporation. And I don't want to get down to the tax code too far. Everybody pays the same rate. So if you're a small mom and pop shop and you're selling widgets on the side of the road somewhere and you're collecting that revenue, the way it works right now is that revenue passes through your LLC and gets put onto your personal income taxes for you to pay. Well, what's happening is you're getting double taxed on that. So what we propose is any business, regardless of your size, would pay a maximum of 15% tax rate, right? Whether it goes onto your personal or stays with your business, it's 15% maximum. The other thing this plan does, it eliminates the death tax. Why are we double taxing people? You've paid the money when you made it, and now they want you to pay again when you have to give it away because you're dead, and your children have to have the privilege of collecting some of that. We eliminate that. We eliminate the marriage penalty. We eliminate the alternative minimum tax. We close some loopholes that allow us to that are arcane and should have been closed years ago, but unfortunately Congress refuses to act and get things done. There is a way to balance the budget, but it's called responsibility. And the other part of this plan, which we don't talk about a lot, but is a huge component, is eliminating the waste, fraud, and abuse which is taking place in the federal government. Mm-hmm. And we looked at a document yesterday which showed a washer, like that you would use on a nut to screw something on a washer. The federal government spent almost $1 million moving a 1-cent item, from location A to location B, because they weren't sophisticated enough to just buy it in location B. This is the waste and abuse and the fraud that takes place. If you can rein that in, coupled with a logical tax plan that allows more people to have their money and spend it the way they want to, this country can be the greatest economic engine we've ever been. But we're not there right now.
Right.
And it's time to put people back to work. We've got tens of millions of people who are out of work. 90 million people by some accounts. And I'm sorry to monopolize the call.
No, that's good.
90 million people are out of work and have stopped looking for work on many occasions, and the government says, well, we just took them off the rolls. So unemployment's at 5.2 or 5.4 or 5.7. It's probably much closer to 10 or 12 or 15. Or the people who are underemployed. Let's give those businesses the incentives to reinvest their money, to hire more people, to put them back to work so we can actually build things in this country again.
Well, Corey, the hidden story is not only the true number of unemployed, which I happen to believe is around 15%, but it's those that are underemployed, that aren't even part of that figure, that were making $70,000, $80,000 are now making $25,000. I mean, that is really the tragedy of the American middle class right now. Corey, I want to get back to your tax plan. Some economists are saying, hey, this thing could blow the budget deficit even bigger than it is if you don't get to that 3% number. As you know now, it's about 1.5%. What happens?
Well, look, here's what we're talking about. This is talking about giving businesses the opportunity to actually invest in our country again. By taking the corporate tax rate that a business pays right now and lowering it to the lowest it has been since World War II, we will stimulate the economy. We will stimulate jobs. That puts more people to work. It will actually grow the economy. We're going to grow the economy by giving people jobs, by asking businesses to take the money that they have been paying in taxes, keeping that for themselves and reinvesting into their businesses to give more people more opportunity. That brings the pie bigger. It puts some of these 90 million people who are out of work back into the job market, which means we actually have more money into the system. Don't forget, if there's $2.5 trillion sitting overseas or more, maybe it's more, maybe it's $3 trillion, maybe it's $5 trillion.
Right.
And you have to pay 10% of that money, you're talking hundreds of billions of dollars to come back into the economy as a one-time fee. And, again, what that will do is moving forward, those companies that are making all this money and parking it offshore will now keep that money here in the United States and put it back to work, which means we've got a broader, more diverse tax base because more people are working, more people are earning, more people are spending. Because if you don't have a job, it's really difficult to go out and try and stimulate the economy when you're not even sure you can feed your family or keep your lights on. And until we do something to provide more jobs in this country, we will never grow ourselves out of this deficit that continues to escalate, which, if you look at that debt clock, they're saying it's $19 trillion, but they play all these gimmicks and games because they know they're starting to bump up against the end of the month, which would force another government shutdown because we don't have enough money, if you can fundamentally believe this, to keep our government running unless we pass an emergency piece of legislation. Which, John, at my house, at your house, that doesn't happen. I don't say to my wife, hey, guys, guess what? I'm out of money this month. Let's just pass an emergency decree and we'll spend more. It doesn't work like that anywhere else in the world, but that's how the federal government does it. They refuse to live within their own budget. They refuse to cut spending. That's a big problem here. So you put a tax plan forward that grows the economy, that brings money back into our countries, that forces companies in a good way to reinvest here in America, which is what we want so that we can be the economic superpower again. That's what's really important, and that's what will actually reduce our deficit long term.
Tell us about your campaign right now in Iowa.
Campaign in Iowa is great. We were in Iowa on the 12th and the 19th, so 2 Saturdays in a row back-to-back out there. We've got a great, strong team. Mr. Trump has been to, of the 99 counties, he's probably been to 20 or 25 of those counties already. We're going to be back there next week, actually. We've got a trip to Iowa. I think it's next Wednesday on the books already. It's been a place that, because we spent a lot of time there, and New Hampshire, the people of Iowa really understand Mr. Trump. They've gotten to see him grow as a candidate, to understand his positions. We've got a good, strong grassroots team in Iowa, and we continue to expand our base there. And, boy, I'll tell you, I feel really good about Iowa. I wish the election were held today. The caucus were held today. I think we do very, very well.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, my home state, right? It's where I live.
Right.
And I can tell you, it's again, we're there. We're actually there tomorrow night, and it's a place where, again, they have gotten to know Mr. Trump very well. They've seen him many, many times. We've done dozens of trips up to New Hampshire. Our team there is probably could be the strongest of any state we have. A good, strong leadership team out there. Great endorsements from local elected officials. People who consistently come out to see him. New Hampshire's a unique state. It's a state where they're used to seeing those candidates for office, and they're used to seeing these intimate settings where you might get 20 or 30 or 50 people to come see a candidate. Consistently, every time we've been to New Hampshire, Mr. Trump has thousands of people. That doesn't happen in New Hampshire. I know the state very well. Mm-hmm. We were up there a couple of weeks ago, and we went to Rochester, and he had 3,000 people sitting in a high school gymnasium where we thought we were going to have a small, intimate setting of 50 people. The overwhelming support of the people of New Hampshire is very, very humbling, and we're happy to be going back up there on Wednesday, tomorrow.
Ken Reed is a supervisor in Loudoun County, and his question is, how did Mr. Trump get Grover Norquist to agree to his plan?
Well, I think because Grover he's a pragmatist. He understands that the plan makes sense. What Grover's big issue is, and we agree with this, is you can't put a plan in place which is going to be a net tax increase and grow the federal deficit, because the single largest problem we have as a country is passing on that debt to our children and our grandchildren. So when Grover saw the plan, he knew that this plan would create jobs, jobs, jobs. That's the one comparative advantage that Grover, completely understands. It's right in Mr. Trump's wheelhouse, and that's what this country needs, a job creator. And if you look at the field, you look at the market, you ask yourself, who that is running for president has created jobs in the private sector more than Mr. Trump? And the answer is nobody. And our country needs a jobs president, and that's why he will hopefully be the next president of the United States.
He is going to be the jobs president, no doubt.